she was a quiet force behind the sounds that shaped American television. Robin Kaye, born in 1955, lived a life woven into the cultural fabric of the entertainment industry, but she did so largely behind the scenes. At 70 years old, her name was known in industry circles more than in headlines, yet her influence was undeniable. Over a 30-year career, she supervised music on some of the most watched and beloved television programs of the past few decades, including American Idol, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Malcolm in the Middle, and the Miss Universe pageant. Her work touched millions without most viewers ever realizing who she was. But to those who knew her, Robin wasn't just a music supervisor. She was a fierce professional with an ear for emotion and narrative, and a woman who loved fiercely and quietly, especially the man who shared her life, Thomas Deluca. Thomas Deluca was also 70, a singer-songwriter and music producer who lived just outside the center of the spotlight. While Robin's world was mostly behind the camera and in post-production suites, Thomas's revolved around instruments, studios, and intimate collaborations with musicians. He had worked with artists across genres, with some reports linking him to names like Kid Rock and other less mainstream acts in California's music scene. Thomas wasn't known for chasing fame. He was known for nurturing talent, writing lyrics that mattered, and being a steady presence in an often chaotic industry. Together, they were a couple anchored in art, faith, and routine. They lived in Encino, a calm, leafy neighborhood in the San Fernando Valley of Los Angeles, far from the frenzy of Hollywood, but close enough to be part of its rhythm. Their Encino home, described by neighbors as warm and modest for industry veterans, became the scene of a tragedy that has shocked their community and sent ripples through the entertainment world. On July 15, 2025, both Robin and Thomas were found dead inside the residence, victims of a fatal shooting during what authorities believe was a home invasion gone terribly wrong. Robin had reportedly called 911 just before 7:30 a.m., saying someone had broken into the house and was inside. Police arrived quickly but found the couple already deceased from multiple gunshot wounds. They were declared dead at the scene. What followed was a flurry of news coverage and a fast-moving investigation. Within hours, LAPD detectives arrested a 22-year-old man named Sebastian Guillen in connection with the murders. Guillen, who reportedly has a criminal history including burglary, was charged with attempted burglary and double homicide. Investigators alleged that he was attempting to rob the home when he encountered the couple. While details remain under investigation, early reports indicate he may have known of the couple's residence and deliberately targeted it. It remains unclear whether this was a random act or a targeted break-in based on information about the couple's routines or property. What is known is that Robin and Thomas were killed in their sanctuary, a place that for decades had been filled with music, conversation, laughter, and the quiet companionship of a couple who shared everything. To the outside world, Robin Kaye was primarily recognized as a music supervisor for American Idol, where she worked for 15 seasons, playing a pivotal role in shaping how viewers experienced the rise and fall of aspiring stars. She was also involved in the music direction for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, one of television's most genre-defining shows. In a 2003 interview, she described her job as the art of not being noticed while moving your heart. It was that philosophy that defined her professional legacy. She didn't need applause. She needed to know the story was right, the emotion was earned, the transition was seamless. Those who worked with her described her as detail-obsessed in the best way, someone who could hear a note and know if it was in sync with the moment. Producers respected her. Editors leaned on her. Musicians trusted her. Thomas Deluca, on the other hand, maintained a lower public profile, but those who worked with him recall his unique ability to pull honesty out of songs. A friend once described him as the kind of guy who'd rather spend 6 hours perfecting a lyric than 6 minutes bragging about it. While there are few public records about his full discography, industry peers note that he was deeply embedded in California's independent music scene and had credits with several mid-tier artists, particularly in folk rock and Americana circles. His collaborations may not have topped charts, but they shaped careers and strengthened voices. The couple's relationship, by all accounts, was deeply rooted in mutual respect and creative understanding. They met in Los Angeles sometime in the 1980s, reportedly during a recording session involving a television pilot. She was scouting tracks. He was helping a young artist record a demo. Their worlds collided over melody and meaning, and the connection was immediate. They married within a few years, blending their professional lives with their personal one. Friends say that even decades later, they still spoke about music like it was sacred. They didn't have children, or at least no public record confirms any, but their home was often described as open, with young musicians and editors frequently stopping by to share meals, talk shop, or simply rest in their presence. What made Robin and Thomas unique wasn't just their talent, but their humility. In an age when visibility is often mistaken for impact, they quietly built lives that influenced more people than they'd ever meet. Former Idol contestants have already begun sharing memories on social media, crediting Robin with helping them find their voices, pick the right arrangement, or fight for a moment that mattered. Editors from Buffy and Malcolm in the Middle posted tributes describing Robin as a lifeline in tight deadlines and chaotic schedules. Musicians who worked with Thomas have posted handwritten notes he left in studio lockers, reminding them to keep chasing the truth in your sound. Now, that sound has been silenced. Their deaths, as tragic as they are, have become a rallying point not just for justice but for reflection. What does it mean to live a quiet life of enormous consequence? What does it mean to give your energy to something that brings joy to others without demanding praise in return? Robin and Thomas didn't live loudly, but they lived meaningfully. They left no scandal, no ego trail, no broken bridges. Only harmonies, hearts, and questions that still echo. Police have not yet released all the evidence collected, and some elements remain sealed due to the ongoing legal case. However, neighbors described seeing the couple gardening together in the early mornings, walking hand in hand to the local cafe, and occasionally attending local music nights not as guests of honor but as supporters. It's this ordinariness, married to extraordinary talent, that people seem to miss most at it. Is difficult to accept that two lives built around creation were ended in such violence. The community of Encino is planning a memorial in the coming days, and the American Idol team is said to be preparing a tribute during its upcoming season. But what perhaps matters more than what is said on stage is what happens in living rooms, editing bays, and recording booths. When someone decides to care a little more about getting it right, not getting attention, there has been no word yet on the estate, their wealth, or how their property will be managed, though early reports suggest their finances were stable, the home owned outright, and that both had retirement plans in place. Friends have expressed interest in starting a foundation in their name, possibly one that supports young artists or music education. Those efforts are still in early stages. In the end, Robin and Thomas didn't seek to be remembered for how they died, but for how they lived, and more importantly, how they helped others live better through music, guidance, and presence. They were not stars, but they lit stars. They were not loud, but they made the loud beautiful. And in their deaths, we are reminded again of the fragile lines between safety and tragedy, between obscurity and influence, between the notes we hear and the hands that chose them. If you have ever watched a television show and felt moved by the music, if you have ever heard a song that helped you through a moment, then perhaps, without knowing, you've been touched by Robin Kaye or someone like her. If you've ever heard a song that sounded like truth, there's a chance Thomas DeLuca's fingerprints were on it. So let us remember them, not just as names in the news, but as makers of meaning. And let us say their names with gratitude: Robin Kaye, Thomas DeLuca. Artists, partners, lives well lived. To those watching this video, we invite you to share your thoughts. Were you touched by the shows they helped bring to life? Are you part of the industry they shaped with care and class? Leave a comment below, let us know what their work meant to you, and if you feel led, share this tribute to keep their legacy ringing louder than the silence they left behind.